Hello, and welcome to our very first EK QuantumX project show. A type of content you may not expect to see from us. Well, you should be, so stick around. First, let's explain what EK Quantum is. EK Quantum is a line of premium, high-end liquid cooling products made for PC enthusiasts who wants to stand out. It was designed and developed around the idea of perfectly matching and complementing liquid cooling components that bring unparalleled aesthetic uniformity. Well, QuantumX on the other hand. QuantumX is our project series to share some of our side projects with the EK viewership. These projects are not your average water blocks. Instead, they tend to walk a little bit on the wild side. You will see an astonishing projects that will move the industry forward. Or they will end up as a mere blueprints or semi-forgotten projects at the bottom of someone's desk drawer. So, strap yourself in and get ready for the first QuantumX project.
QuantumX.
So, EK Skunkworks is from now on going to be a playroom of fun projects, absolutely wild stuff that we would not dream of releasing as a serial production run straight away.
We'll be playing around with some different things, some 3D printing, some new technologies that are maybe new in the technology world.
We have no idea if the products are going to be something people love, if they're just not going to resonate with you, the customers. And basically, we get to show you us working on the stuff, and you get a real insight into how products are made, how we develop things, and a little bit of our research.
So basically, this is the room where magic happens.
Our plan right now is to basically combine every single block that we have into a single huge entity, which we're going to call the Uniblock.
What we'll do is make a unity from all the current EK products and make it into one single block.
So in there we'll fit basically every single thing we think we can push inside. So the foundation underneath it all will be a monoblock, which is already a combination of VRM blocks and a CPU block. We're going to expand that to the chipset, to all the M2 drives, every single thing, and then add a graphics card block with an active backplate, add somehow a distribution plate, some kind of terminal, and a reservoir and a pump, all into one single big huge thing that you just connect a radiator to, and that's the whole system.
That will mount in the PC case. We don't know how yet, but we'll figure that out here.
I mean, it's going to be hugely complex, really fun, and a really kind of visual showpiece of water cooling. So you'll see everything like compounded into one single huge entity, big coolant, really visual, lots of plexi, nickel, and everything that we know people love from all of our products, just as kind of huge and epic as possible.
Uniblock seems to us kind of a special project as we're going ahead and starting with the QuantumX series.
But the motivation for trying it is to see how we can advance kind of the form factor in which people liquid cool. We know distribution plates have been hugely popular, but they're still reliant on tubing. So now we're looking what happens when we eliminate that tubing, just go direct, all the distribution in the block, which is also the cooling block.
And maybe offer something into the market, for example.
In theory, because Uniblock is a combination of pre-existing blocks, we already have GPU blocks, we already have monoblocks, it shouldn't take too long to bring it all together into one huge piece, but we still need to figure out so many extra stuff, like how to package it, how to mount the GPU, how it's all safely assembled together, the order in which it will be assembled, because you can't just fit everything simultaneously. There will need to be somehow a riser cable going through there. There'll need to be all kinds of mechanics that you can actually use it and fill it. So we're expecting that to take probably 200 working hours of putting the individual pieces together.
Well, I know someone said 200 hours, but I'm gonna do it in less.
For the hardware, we want to use the best that's available to us right now.
EATX, like Z690 X3 motherboard from Asus.
With a 12900K. We're not 100% on the board yet.
And of course, the top-notch GPU available right now is the 3090.
We could have gone to the 3090 Ti, but we also wanted to keep the compatibility with 3080s and 3080 Ti just in case someone wants to swap things out.
Chances of success, well, it's going to be an interesting project. It's going to be very interesting to figure out a way to mount it into the case as a unity whole with hardware, nevertheless.
I think everything's going to come together pretty well because we have everything working individually already, no problem. We have the GPU blocks, we have the monoblocks, and we know that's all good. It's really a case of packaging. I think we have a very high chance that first time it all comes together, everything fits all right. But how it's going to perform is going to depend on the PC we build for it, the loop we have for it, and I'm also pretty excited to see what we get there.
And I'm quite sure that we don't know where to put the pump yet.
The hardest part I think we face is figuring out actually what order this stuff goes together.
The most challenging part, I think, will be routing all the channels for most optimum performance of all the parts here. We're cooling a lot of hardware in here.
The last time I made something very similar to this, the block ended up being like 4 kilos, and you had to mount the motherboard onto it rather than mount this onto the motherboard because it was such a big difference in weight. So I think safely figuring out how to do that and then mounting it all in the case is the big challenge.
It's going to be quite a challenge to put everything into one single block.
Anything to add?
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so time to go to work.
Let the fun begin.
QuantumX.
Okay, so all of the parts just came back from machinists. We have all the aluminium, all the plexi, all the coppers. It's all nickel plated, anodized, all the finishing is done. So we're just about to unwrap it and talk you through each piece. The first, we couldn't resist unwrapping already. This is a heatsink for the pump. So it's going to have a DDC pump that fits inside here. And this heatsink actually sticks through the top of the product. And we machined in the EK logo, and this is really like delicate stuff to cut out. So we absolutely had to see it, and it looks awesome. You can see the holes also going through it sideways. They let the light pass from the strip in the back through to all of the plexi. So let's get some more goodies out.
And I couldn't resist to open and check this cold plate for our block side of the 3090. So as we see, it's the same engine insert as on the Vector 2 design. It works well, but it kind of resembles the old Vector look, the channels themselves. What I'm gonna check are the contact surfaces, if they're the right heights, so we achieve proper pressure on the thermal pads, and of course the GPU die.
Nice. Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so here we have the two plexi parts. These are from the top block. You'll see that when we start putting it together, the block is actually in two halves. And this has the active backplate, cold plate attached down here. A memory cold plate over here, which touches the RAM. And the rest of it is pretty much just distribution to the lower part, as well as the pump and the reservoir. This is quite typical of a distribution plate part that we would usually see from our machinists. The exception being all of the kind of detailed parts that are actually from what would usually be in the top plexi of a GPU block or active backplate block are directly inside. So that's peculiar to see, but looks like everything's perfect. And this slot on the right, that's where the LED strip fits, and in here is where that EK logo on the heatsink is going to poke through. Mitja there has the top, so these two pieces come together, and with the 3 or 4 O-ring channels seal everything up.
So what I'm holding now is our terminal for the Uniblock. We see inlet and outlet here, fixed together with 3 screws with 2 O-rings as per usual for all blocks. What we see here is the unusual shape of the terminals, so this will actually fit really nicely with the I/O shroud of the Z690 Extreme motherboard that we're gonna use, and I can't wait to look at on the final build.
Okay, so this little piece of aluminium, pretty much a solid profile, covers up where the LED fits on the left side, so it sits behind the heatsink from the pump and covers up everything on the edge of the board. We did notice that there's a small blemish in the anodization, but that's going to be on the bottom side, so perfectly fine for our build, but not something we'd like to see on a product for a customer. I also have these two pieces, which I believe are both sides of the memory heatsinks. So there's one, and here we have the smaller half. These two plates screw together and clamp around the DDR5 modules, and they have a nice big flat contact surface for memory pads to go against the upper block when it all comes together. I think you noticed there's probably a few parts missing from all of this, like the lower half of the block, and that's because Mitja already put it together. So
yeah, I had to customly cut the O-ring, glued it together, and that was a bit time consuming, and I guess that isn't the right content for this show.
Understandably, he doesn't want to pull apart the custom O-ring that he fitted around like hundreds of shapes. Normally it goes just around one block, but here like a single O-ring goes through every single part. You'll see it. So
it took me 2 hours.
Yeah, not putting that O-ring back together again.
Never again.
Let's have a look. Yeah, I think that's a fun thing to note about QuantumX projects. When we make a distribution plate in EK, the O-rings can be absolutely huge, just like they are here, and also complex shapes. But because we typically make hundreds of those parts, they're molded into shape. So the person gets to unpack the O-ring, they actually peel off the excess rubber because it helps it stay flat, put it inside the block, and it fits every time. But on these blocks, we have to make the O-rings to suit. So we just get like a huge length of cord, cut it really precisely and bond it together. And then you have like a crazy shape that just wants to be a circle, and you have to try and pack it into the O-ring groove. So it's really not fun. And how long was the O-ring on this?
I think it took me 3 tries and 2 hours.
How much cord?
Oh, like 1 meter and 180 centimeters actually, yeah. That's how much is there.
Okay, so the bottom half of the block, which you just saw, that was actually kind of Mitja's part. We, partway through the project, decided that we'd split it into these two halves. Once we had a concept and we figured out, like mutually between us, where the two fittings needed to go to join them, then we went our separate ways and each worked on a half just to get it done a bit faster, because we were both working like all night for a week, I think.
Yeah, 2 days actually.
Yeah, he got ahead of me and put his together. Now I need to go and build the top half. Thankfully, the O-ring is not so complicated. And then we'll be heading over to the mod room to put all these parts into a build.
QuantumX.
We're now back. We have one complete set of parts assembled and we have one part waiting to go in the build. The set we put together went together really nicely. We have them both here. So there are conveniently two halves. This is the top piece. This one has the pump with its heatsink. We ended up using the EK logo, combining it into the pump cover. So this is the DDC, and this is the heatsink for it that you can see from the front side. This cover conceals the LEDs. And then in the main part of this block, we basically have an active backplate, a memory block, and a pump reservoir all integrated together. And on the rear side, you can see there those two cold plates for the RAM and the backplate. And these ports interface directly with the base of the block, which Mitja has.
These are the two ports that Joe just mentioned. And this is actually the bottom cold plate for the 3090 Strix. And on the bottom, we have Velocity 2 engine, along with the Momentum 2 cold plates for the VRM cooling, along with the M.2 cold plate. That's additionally included in this cold plate section, I would say, and two positions to additionally cool the M.2.
While this may have not been so easy to design, and while it may not be so easy to build onto the hardware, I can see this is going to be an extremely easy build in the end.
That's right, actually you just need to stack the hardware on and you're all set, basically.
Nice. We put this all together for the first time. Were there any mistakes? Any problems?
Yeah, right here we see plexi cracking on one screw. Additionally, the steel plate was not done the right time at first, but we took care of that, no problems. And yes, the O-rings were kind of a mess, but we handled it.
Okay, so do we already have a case picked out for this hardware?
Yeah, we picked Atlas 2 from Ulebeast. I think you guys will love it, and it's a really showcase case, I would say, and we'll see each other in the next episode.
Really excited. I've never seen a Ulebeast case in person, and they look absolutely formidable when Mods by Ben gets his hands on one, so I'm hoping ours turns out to be just as magnificent. Looking forward also to seeing your feedback before the next episode, what you think about the Uniblock and how you think the build's going to go. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, and see you in the next and the second QuantumX video.
QuantumX.